It's that time of year again. Spooky season. What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic. Yup, blind film critic. And it's spooky season again. And to kick off spooky season, we're doing something a little bit different this year. So, without further ado, this is the house that Jack built, which I did technically watch. So, we're going to review the house that Jack built. So, I normally, as a blind film critic, I prefer to watch films with audio description. The problem is that there are large chunks of films that don't have audio description. It's actually a pretty decent community of blind people. There's even like a little community specifically dedicated to those who love horror films. Not everybody starts as blind. Some people go blind later and they want to still be able to do the things that they love. Audio description makes everything pretty accessible. Myself, I had sight and then I lost it. So I understand what it's like to sit and just stare at a movie in a movie theater and enjoy all of the, cinematography and lighting and camera angles and editing choices that directors make all the time. And now I sit through it with audio description. With horror movies, this is like a genre that screams, please put audio description on me, but so many films don't. And I review films pretty much always from my perspective because I can't change it. And so this time around, we're going to talk about movies that are major horror titles that don't have audio description and what it's like to be blind and to not understand what my thoughts are about them, because I'm also Tomato Meter approved. Fun fact. So if I don't want to go after independent little tiny people in these reviews and pick out these random horror movies that somebody made for $10,000. I want to go after movies that have studios and the distributors behind them that could have paid for the audio description and just didn't. So there's a website, the Audio Description Project, adp.acb.org, which maintains a list of all available audio description titles. And if the film doesn't appear there, sort of like, at least with sometimes audio description doesn't always transfer from service to service, but there should be an evergreen version of it. If it was created, there would be like a video on demand version of the audio description, or it would be available on the physical DVD. This doesn't have that. So I get to talk about the house that Jack built, which felt like the perfect movie to start with because this is such a visually driven movie. I've done as much research as I can without somebody giving me like a literal fucking play-by-play of what happens in this movie. But if you've seen the house that Jack built, first of all, yell at me in the comments. I don't know, do whatever you want down there. I'm doing this is spoilers. It's not intentionally spoilers. Like I'm not giving you because obviously I didn't get the whole movie, but I'm considering this to be a spoiler warning at the beginning of this as we move forward. So what is this movie? It's Lars von Trier. I've seen some of his work before. Melancholia stands out to me. Also because I wasn't revolted by Melancholia, but it does stand out to me as being sort of an artistic movie. I remember seeing Melancholia and not hating it. So there's something. But this is a film that he dropped at Cannes, which was released in 2018. IFC Midnight picked this up. He had, interestingly, previously been banned from Cannes for a whole year, for making sort of what came across as being Nazi sympathizer comments, which makes it even more interesting that this film has Nazi concentration camp footage in it, which is a hot take. When you supposedly, get called out for something and you go, well, it was just a joke, it's just a bad joke. What else is he going to say? I mean, to be honest, like, what else is he going to say? Like, was he going to double down and be like, no, I'm a Nazi, and then like watch nobody want to work with him? Like, so I don't know. Like, well, he had two options there. He had one which was, oh, sorry, it was a bad joke, or nope, meant it, meant every word of it. So he's back and he's decided to include concentration camp footage, which feels like an odd flex, honestly. And I don't know that it's in here because I can't see it, but it's something that's been talked about this film. There's an unrated and R-rated cut, and honestly, I don't know which one I just saw, but it's like, oh, it's over 2.5 hours long, so I can't imagine there's a longer cut of this movie. It's like, my fucking God, man. Jesus, this movie is long. I saw the runtime and I was like, this movie's long also? Not only is this movie like aggressively violent, but it's also really fucking long. So, supposedly this is like a critical darling because people look at Lars von Trier and they're like, oh, he's an auteur, he's an artist. Yeah, but I mean, at some point too, you can kind of buy into your own shit a little too much. And again, in the research that I've done and stuff that I can't pick up on, he does that here, where apparently there's footage from his own movies when he's talking about artistic design. So what is this? Well, at its heart, it's basically Dante's Inferno. It's a serial killer who's trying to talk with Virgil about getting into heaven, and at the end of the movie, Virgil's like, well, there's a ladder, but there's a path, but never seen anybody actually successfully do it. I think Jack ends up not successfully climbing into heaven. Surprise, surprise. So, although I did think that the choice of Hit the Road Jack at the end of the film was kind of hilarious, but this is a slog, man. This is a long ass movie, and it's weird to listen to. Also, even if I take the visual aspect out of it, Jack is doing a lot of talking, and I don't always. There are a lot of visual elements that I've read about and heard described, and things that obviously over the last 7 years, one of the reasons I chose this movie is because it seemed like a very strong visual element movie. But each one of the kills is just, that's uncomfortable to listen to. Not the first one. Uma Thurman's character was obnoxious. Like, the first part of the movie I just thought was stupid, and I also hated her character, and I didn't care if she was killed off. She literally, like, gets in the car with Matt Damon, and she's like, you seem like a serial killer. I was like, oh my God, is this movie going to be that obvious? I was like, you gotta be kidding me. And who would say that to somebody, by the way? Could you imagine being stuck on the side of the road, and, like, you get pulled over, somebody pulls over to help you, and you're like, I don't know, man. I guess, I need help. So I get in the car, and first thing you're like is, man, you look like a serial killer. I'm glad you're not. Oh, wait, you are. Never mind. Just ridiculous. Anyway, so, the second one was the lady, who lets him into the house, but she's like not gonna let him in at first. And as he continues to change his bullshit reasoning for why he should be allowed to enter, I just, like, I disliked that scene even more, because it seemed like the lady was smart at the beginning, and then it's like he just continued to talk, and she got progressively dumb as the conversation, and eventually she was like, yeah, that makes sense to me. Yes, please come in the house. Like, okay. So, what was the third death? I can't even remember. I think the fourth one, there's a family that he kills here, and then there's like Riley Keough, who screams a lot. What was the other one? Man, I forgot. I'm sorry. So, but most of the time it's Matt Dillon just talking about his kills and how he sees himself as an artist, and what he's making are these like grotesque things. Like, he takes, and you could pick up on sort of at least the general idea. Like, if you haven't seen the movie, you get the validation of it because he talks a little bit about it. But it's still one of those things. I'll talk about this in a second. Let me finish my thought. Still one of those things that doesn't translate quite the same. But he does talk about how he likes to, he formulates his art by killing people and using their bodies, and before they get into rigor mortis, he likes to try to put them in whatever position before rigor mortis sets in that he needs them for his art installation, which is the title of the film, The House That Jack Built. Anyway, so it's supposed to be darkly comedic, but other than like some bad writing, I didn't think the movie was funny. Like, is that funny to you? Like, I thought I thought Uma Thurman's character was written so poorly at the beginning. I was like, oh my God. Like, nobody would ever get in the car and just be like, oh, you look like a serial killer. Thanks for not being one. Oh, damn. Looks like my bad, you are one. I was right. Like, I mean, not those exact words, but like, I couldn't take the writing seriously because like Matt Dillon is playing this like deadpan, like he's into this character, and it's very flat. It's a very flat performance from him. It's very just sort of whatever. He's an odd choice for it, but he kind of fits. I didn't hate Matt Dillon in this, but at the same time, I also didn't think he elevated the movie at all. So, because it just feels like Matt Dillon reading a role, just kind of moving his way through this role, very sort of like nonplussed by anything that's going on. And yeah, and you have to listen to these people die, and it's just like a lot of sound effects, and there's a score, of course, and he goes around. It's a lot of exposition through dialogue, and he talks about how nobody wants to help people anymore, and he at one point like confesses, and then like nobody cares, like nobody takes him seriously. So it's just very random. So it's very self-indulgent as an artist. For Lars von Trier, I think it's an odd flex of a movie for a director to come in with like a 2.5-hour movie about a serial killer that uses bodies to make art and expect an audience to sit through it, and also it's like testing their level of what they'll sit through, because there's violence against like children and animals and all this different sort of things in here, and obviously lots of dead bodies, and it can be kind of grotesque, and people have walked out and supposedly been made physically ill, and they've protested this movie, and the MPAA tried to get IFC Midnight in trouble for releasing an unrated cut of the movie, which I think you can do because that happens all the time anyway, so I don't understand that. So there's an unrated and an R-rated cut. I don't know which one I've seen. I would assume that the difference is one contains concentration camp footage and the other one does not. Probably is the hot take on that. But then he includes like his own art in this thing, right? So and it's often directors are like very self-reflective of themselves. So I'm like, does he see himself as Matt Dillon? Because at the end of the day, he's putting his own art in there as being like the great art of the time. But at the same time, I don't think Jack made it to heaven. I think he died. Like, I think he loses his case and falls. Like Virgil says, he's never seen anybody who's been able to succeed going up the path or whatever that he tries to go up. So is Lars basically saying, I'm headed to hell in a handbasket and fuck it? Or, you know, like, is he just accepting his lot in life and saying, well, this is my art and you've been watching my art and I'm a nasty son of a bitch? Like, I don't know what I don't know, but when you start putting yourself in your own art, and this is the art that you've chosen to put yourself into, and then that's what happens to your character, it's a very interesting perspective. So I'm not going to say the film isn't interesting, but just because the film is interesting doesn't mean you we all have to watch it or see it or that it's for everybody. This film is not for everybody, but it should be available with audio description to those who want to watch it. See, that's the thing, is that much like what the MPAA does and what IFC Midnight tried to do by releasing an unrated cut was avoid censorship. Because at the end of the day, MPAA is censorship. It's saying you can and can't do this. And so if you're against censorship, well, that's why I'm here, is to point out the fact that unfortunately what happens a lot of the time by studios picking and choosing which films do and do not have audio description for blind people, there's also sort of censoring films for us. So we don't always get what we're supposed to get. Even with that, I can come up with cases where we do get audio description, but the audio description has come with riders and clauses so that the people who make the audio description are not allowed to talk about certain things that a sighted person would see. We're not allowed to hear that visually described in an audio description track. So there's a lot of censorship that goes on with this, and I'd like to kind of put an end to that, which is why I'm on the tomato meter, is to try to get these things changed, is to talk about film critically, use that film degree that I got before I realized, oh shit, I'm gonna be blind. What am I gonna do with it? I'm gonna keep using the film degree. So, Lars von Trier, not my favorite director. I think he's a shock and awe director, and I have a feeling that if he wasn't, that he would be an even more gifted director than he was if he wasn't always trying to put these exclamation points onto his films. As far as, you know, look at me, look at what I got. There's this sort of like dogma movement, with like it's like dogma movement, where you sort of like strip film to its most base core value. I mean, there's a bit of that here where he's just trying to push the medium and use the medium, but at the same time, I don't think he's that successful at it. I think there still is very much the aspect of I'm Lars von Trier and this is the art that I'm making, and look at me and look at what I'm able to achieve. So it's very self-congratulatory. But to sit through this as a blind person, you're basically listening to Matt Dillon talk for 2.5 hours. And then every couple of times it breaks and somebody is screaming or gurgling as they die. Some gunshots and, you know, a couple other things. But it's mostly just a conversation between Jack and Virgil. And a couple not great sounds. It's a bit of a slog to get through for 2.5 hours with no audio description. Not that I really am super excited about knowing what the visuals are in here. That's the thing I wanted to come back around to, is for me personally, this like horror movies, I found that it's a lot easier to hear something than it is to see something. So there are a lot of films that I'm not a huge gore fan. When I could see, I would not. There are a lot of films that I have come back around to with audio description that I avoided when I first saw them, because either I knew they were nothing but jump scares, and jump scares don't quite work the same way, just because of the fact that in order to get the audio description of the jump scare, we usually end up getting it before or after, and then we find out what it was. So jump scares are pretty much always like related to sound cues. So they work a little bit differently. So if you have a blind friend and you take them to the theater, they may jump at a different time than you for different reasons. Yeah, it's a lot easier to listen to something than it is to see it. So like I've made it through so many movies that I realize, I sit there and I go, man, I would not have seen that. I would have walked out. I would have stopped it. I would not have. That was too much. But listening to it happen, I'm like, well, that was fine. That was a good movie, you know. So I probably could have sat through The House with Jack Built with audio description and been like casually revolted by it. I've read the stuff that happens in it and like a breakdown of, one of those parents' guides things where it breaks it down and it's like, this is what the movie contains. And it's a lot of like depraved shit. Uh, I, since I went blind, I haven't really turned off a movie simply because of content. Because again, it's a lot easier to listen to something than it is to see something, in my opinion. So I don't think I would have turned the movie off. I just would have sat through the audio description and made it. Have I walked out a couple things? Sure. In my lifetime. Most of them because the movie sucked, but I did walk out of Sallow. That was part of my film school experience, was actually having to sit through that movie. And not for any of the violent reasons. I just can't do shit. And there's like some shit eating in that, and I was like, I can't do this. And that runs true for me in any film. Like, I remember there was a Jackass, I think it was the second Jackass movie where they like shit into the tube and then the other guy's smelling it. Man, I was physically ill for like a full day. Like I just went to bed. I think I called in sick because I was like, I don't know what I have. But it was just like a physical ailment, like from that. So yeah, the shit stuff, it just doesn't work for me. It's funny, like the rest of the stuff, I'm not a fan of it, but chops half of somebody's head off, and I'm like, oh, that sucked. But you start putting shit into a movie, I'm like, no, I can't do this. This is gross. So I think I would have made it, but there's no audio description here. So how do I grade The House that Jack Built? What's in like, how do I grade the experience of the house? Is it possible for films like this? Because here's the thing, if you're not going to put accessibility on it, especially if you're a movie that's been made and released within the time of audio description, where there have been devices in theaters, and you could have done it. I'm assuming that you think that this experience does not need it, that does not require it. So a 2018 film made by IFC, which does make audio description, I'm assuming that they think that blind people can get through this without audio description. So I have no qualms about throwing my fresh or rotten tomato up in the air on this one. And the truth is that because he talks so damn much, you actually can kind of get through the movie. But the experience that you get is so wildly different from everyone else's. It's like having two different takeaways. Like, if you've seen this film and you know what's in it, imagine if you had your eyes closed the whole time, because that's the closest thing that I can say. And then you would have been like, wait a minute. So all of that stuff that I saw, I wouldn't have seen. It's like, yeah, that's kind of what it's like. And that's why I'm saying I need audio description would have filled in a lot of the gaps. The interesting thing there are plenty of times where he stops and I think it fills in the stuff, but he talks so damn much in this movie that I kind of wonder what the AD track would have been able to describe to begin with. Also would have helped in just knowing what made it into whatever cut of the film I had that was ungodly long. It's way too long. It's just way too fucking long. Like I was really bored by this film. By the 2.5 hour mark of listening to Matt Dillon talk about this, I was like, please stop. Please. And it's like the world's longest monologue. It's just, I mean, he is talking back and forth, and I forgot the actor's name, but who plays Virgil does talk back and forth. Him and some of the actors who get killed off as victims have some dialogue when we get to their kill scenes. Man, it's a lot of dialogue. So actually, more so than some other films, there is some level of enjoyment, I guess, here that you can get out of it if you are blind and want to sit down and watch The House of Jack Built. But because it's so wildly different from the experience that everyone else is getting. It's like having that experience where, you know, was the dress blue or gold, right? But in this case, you're the only one that thinks it's blue and everybody else thinks it's gold. You know? Like, we're in a completely different world. Like, if you do no research on this movie and you don't look it up at all, you will feel like you saw a completely different film if you're blind than everyone else. And you'll be like, I don't know what the big deal was. It was a little weird, but anyway. Talks about a couple things that made me uncomfortable, but I don't quite get it. I just, you know, you won't get the you know, him trying to mold a dead kid into a certain position, grumpy. So you won't get any of that stuff. You'll get what you get through dialogue, which is honestly tame compared to anything else. So this is a film that screams audio description, which is why I wanted to start off spooky season with it. Thanks for sitting through this review, by the way. And please drop some comments. And if you're blind, I'd love to know which horror films you want to see me review in October that have no known audio description, because that's what I want to do is have these conversations. What's here? Is there anything here? Why should we have audio? What are we missing? And for the house that Jack built, for a film that is literally about a guy building a house of dead bodies, it's not quite, it's not what it is. So yes, there's a lot of dialogue, so it's not the worst time you'll have at the theaters. Like when Skinamarink was originally released, I ended up seeing that without audio description, and I did sit through it, and I think the review that's currently up on my channel is without audio description. That's fucking unwatchable, like to the nth degree, because there's nothing there to go off of. There's only like, I think there's like maybe that one time where the guy speaks. There's like 13 spoken words in the entire film. So, otherwise it's just sounds, and it's like, what on earth? This one is just Matt Dillon rambling for 2.5 hours. So, yeah. So the house that Jack built, if I'm being fair, which is what I'm trying to be, I have to weigh what I got versus what the film is, and how much enjoyment a blind person could get out of this. And I don't know that listening to Matt Dillon talk for 2.5 hours is necessarily enjoyment, but I will acknowledge the fact that it is more than some other films that I've seen that I've given lower scores to. So I don't think The House that Jack Built is something that I really want to see, or would want to see again, or would like or love. I don't think this film, conceptually, having sat through it without audio description, if I was added audio description, I don't think it's something that I personally would be giving a fresh grade to. It's just not my thing. But trying to give it the most fair grade that I can to Matt Dillon's monologue, I'm going to give it a 2.5 out of 10. So I've given lower grades to films without audio description. So, yeah, if you want to, and to non-horror movies without audio description. So it's getting 2.5 points just for having a shit ton of dialogue. But contextually, what you're also getting is not really the movie. It's not really the same experience. So if you were watching this, if a blind person was watching this with their sighted friend or partner or whatever, they would get a wildly different experience than the sighted person. Like, they'd be like, why didn't my sighted friend leave the room? I don't understand. I mean, Matt Dillon's acting isn't that bad. It's not bad. He's okay. So that's The House that Jack Built. Welcome to spooky season. I hope this kicks it off for you, and let me know what you think in the comments. And yeah, it's a rotten score. So I will see you guys on the other side.